We're here in the Children's Advocacy Center, a child-focused facility where kids can come that are victims of abuse to tell their story, whether they're victims of physical, sexual, or witness to a violent crime. The children that come here to see us are in very upsetting situations. They've disclosed they've been a victim of abuse, whether to a mandated reporter or a family member. And upon that information being received, a report is made to either law enforcement or child protection. And then the child comes here to our center to tell us their story of abuse. These kids are very scared. A lot of them are very afraid about what's going to happen next if I do talk about what's happened to me or what I may have seen happen to someone else. And just worried about their family, what's going to happen after the interview takes place. The Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement supports our victims that come through the Children's Advocacy Center by providing funding for counseling services. So many of our kids that we see year after year, and we find that when the appropriate measures are taken place for them to have supportive services after the forensic interview, the outcome can be better. And that includes counseling services.
The value of the program is as an investigator, we can take children who are victims of physical or sexual abuse and bring them to this center, and it is a non-threatening environment. We can get information obtained that is pertinent to our investigations in a manner which would not be conceived in a threatening manner when it's taken to the court level. Number one, it's a friendly environment. Number two, it's not a lot of policemen sitting around with badges and guns. Number three, you're taking them out of a dangerous situation. You're taking them away from the crime scene. The two most stressful things that can happen to a child is going to the doctor and going to a police station. You bring them to a non-threatening environment and asking them to provide information that's pertinent to an investigation.
I became familiar with Family and Youth 9 months ago when my family experienced a tragedy. My daughter was murdered by her soon-to-be ex-husband, and due to domestic violence caused by mental illness. We are now, my husband and I, are guardians to the granddaughter, her mother being my only child and her being the only grandchild. You're numb for so long. If it wasn't for Family and Youth, I don't know where I would be. They help you see. They have helped me and my husband put things into perspective. When you have a grandchild in your home, you know how to raise them. You know, but you don't know. Because there's so many things that I want to do as a grandmother that I can't do because I have to draw that line. And they are the ones that put that line in motion for me. I'll never have the answers that I need, but they're actually the ones that are putting me closer to being able to put that part of our life into perspective so that we can go on and raise her the way that we know that we can.
Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement supports Family and Youth through the implementation of two new programs at the start of the 2016 year. Our first is our Work-Life Coordinator program, who works directly with victims of domestic violence. There are a lot of reasons women do not leave abusive situations. We focused on three of those: financial independence, establishing a safety network, and re-entering the workforce. And what our Work-Life Coordinator does is work with those victims to give them the tools they need should they ever decide to leave that abusive relationship. They're equipped and able to do so. Our second program is a victim advocate program that works directly with area police departments. We have hired 4 victims advocates, placed them directly in the police departments to work as a liaison between the police and the victims of crime. We have 3 stated goals there. That's to improve the service to victims, to free detectives up to do the police work. I've not met a detective yet that doesn't want to make sure his victim gets the best service that they can in terms of victim services, but the next day there's another report on their desk and they've got to investigate it. Our victims advocates can liaison between the victims and the detectives and make sure they get the services they need. And the third, which I think is critical in today's society, is to improve relations between the police department and the public at large. Our victims coordinators are there to work with the victims, to get them signed up in the Lavin system, to get them counseling, to advise them of their rights, to keep them posted on court dates, trial dates, and any other services they may need throughout the process.
The Sulphur Police Department is currently housing one of the victim advocates through CAC. Basically what the victim advocate does at the Sulphur Police Department is they build a bridge between the law enforcement agency and the victim. And the reason why that's so important is because as a past investigator, what happens whenever you investigate in a case where a victim is where a person is a victim of a violent crime, sometimes they get left in the dust, for the lack of better terms. And basically what they're there to support the detective, one, but they're also to make sure that the victim has the information they need to move forward with the case. One, it would be keeping them up to date with court information. Two, services that can be provided to them as far as counseling or any other service that they would need.
If it wasn't for the Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement, so many of the children that we see in our Children Advocacy Center wouldn't receive the necessary counseling services to begin the healing process.